Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
Not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin?
After you, Junior.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am Kaleb. Oh no, I am Timber. I was doing the Kaleb Koho thing. Get it? That's what he used to do. And did he do that? Did he do that? And has he been doing that in Warzone? Is the hello, everybody, welcome to Warzone?
At least once.
He's done it one time at least. I think he's only hosted one match, but yes.
Son of a bitch. Anyway, welcome to Logged It. This is episode number 52. We called an audible because only me and Boatman and Cody care about love and movie couples. Nobody else wanted to talk about
Fun fact, YLS has tried couples like 3 times and had to do an audible 3 times. I just think this community doesn't know what love is.
I want to know what love is. I might talk about it later, but actually not, because I watched a worse movie. But Maggie and I watched Rock of Ages earlier this week. She was like, let's watch it. And I said, okay. And even she was like,
you watched a worse one than that?
Yeah. Well, at least in that movie, I get to listen to songs I like.
That is very true.
The movie's terrible, but like at least there's some good music. But anyway, welcome to Logged It. We're talking about we called the audible. We're talking about best movies we've watched for Multiplex. So I think it's gonna be something you watch for YLS. This show, debate, trivia, something in the multiverse. That time we used to have, Ghibli, I don't know, the crazy shit has happened. And there's been many movies watched in this community. We've yelled at each other about them for so many years, and we're just going to fuel that energy more tonight. So, Cody, welcome to the program. Milwaukee Brewers rule. What do you think about the show tonight?
My baseball season's over. I'm ready for football. Aaron Rodgers has no wide receivers, so suck it. That's true. This is going to be a fun topic. Again, as somebody that's ran a show for a while that had to watch a lot of questionable movies, I'm glad you picked best instead of worst, because that would have been an easier decision for me. Best is going to be interesting. And it sparks another topic, by the way. I can announce it here. We're actually going to be drafting YLS multiplex players and matches from the seasons that we have done coming back from YLS. So we're also doing a multiplex themed episode. But nice. I'm glad I was off on a Tuesday. I'm glad to be here. I wonder how long until Boatman annoys me. He already sang, but I give him mulligan. We'll see what happens. But excited to be here.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah. Kaleb, you are here as always. Thank you, sir. It is always nice to see your shining face. Did you get a haircut?
Yes, I did. I noticed. Oh. Nice. Yeah. No, I'm here. Always happy to be here. It always feels like you and I don't host together all that much, and I don't know if that's actually true, but it just felt like lately I've been busy or you've been busy. So I like being with you, Tim.
I agree. Life has thrown me some lemons and then said fuck the lemons. So it's been a little cuckoo. Joseph, you were kind of on the show last week, but now you're here this week and your internet looks a lot better. How you doing, buddy?
Decent. He's still gonna respond like
that's fair. Matthew, first time on the show for Mr. Chen. A very delightful person. Always happy to see you on the screen, whether it's in Warzone, FANDOM. Have you ever been on YLS?
No, I haven't. I'm about to be on Top 40 Musicals.
Oh, nice. That starts tomorrow. Yes, everybody be sure to check that out. It is hosted by Kaleb, but don't let that sway you. It's going to be a really fun time.
It's the Kingsman talk about musicals. It's going to be a blast.
Isn't Bar?
If you still think Bar is not really a part of Kingsman, some Bar is kind of a lie. I would say Bar is as much of a Kingsman as John Maher probably is.
Anyway, we're going to get into the show, and we're going to kick it off the way that we kick off the show every week, which is by talking about our favorite movies that we logged this week. Cody, we are going to start with you on this. What you got for us?
I'm normally used to you starting things on shows, so
Try
this
not
is
to, because since you criticize me all the time.
yeah, you know, egomaniac you. Okay, I will go with. I watched it last night. I'm gonna go with Joel Schumacher's one of his good movies. I'm gonna go with A Time to Kill. A Time to Kill. I watched this with me and Mike on call. I've watched it before, but I wanted to rewatch it. Courtroom dramas are just like my favorite thing. I think. There's not a profession like this, but I just want to be in the courtroom. I don't want to do any of the arguing or yelling or like ruling or judging, but I just want to watch it all day and be paid for it, you know. But I don't know if that's maybe like a critic for judges and stuff. I could do that. I don't know. But I absolutely had
a bailiff. Maggie says, "Be a bailiff."
But I think that's like you got to be like, I don't know. You got to haul people out, and I don't know if I can do that. I'm scared. But this is a very depressing movie, kind of. Like all in all, with the subject matter. Basically, it's in the South. A guy's daughter gets taken by two white men and like brutally attacked and raped, and he gets vengeance on them and shoots them inside the courthouse. It's not a spoiler, it happens in the first 15 minutes, but shoots them and then is put on trial for that. And then it's the entire court proceedings on him and what he did and their revenge on trying to take him. Matthew McConaughey, Samuel L. Jackson, Kevin Spacey, Sandra Bullock, Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland.
The cast is
Sutherland.
Keith Sutherland. The cast is great, and overall, it's got great like courtroom like drama back and forth, and you kind of know like it's no like shocker where the movie's really going to go. Like it's not one of those like I'm shocked by the verdict, but it's such great like basically the bigot of the South and him having to overcome that to get a fair trial for Samuel L. Jackson's character. Really great movie. I highly recommend it. It's a little long, but overall, I think it's a damn good time. And they're very hot and sweaty.
I saw that it is. I saw this in high school and really liked it. I too love courtroom stuff, but I know that in real life it's probably not as exciting as they make it in the movies. I just watched last week that movie that everybody hates, Where the Crawdads Sing. And there's quite a bit of courtroom stuff in that. And honestly, that's why I like the movie. Like, I gave it a 3-star, and I was like, I like this because of the courtroom stuff. It's not done very well, but just any type of trial situation, I eat it up like candy. I think it's fucking really entertaining. And this one's intense, and I need to give it a rewatch because I remember liking it in high school, but it's been a very, very long time. Boatman, what about you?
I watched the last 30 minutes of this movie or so, and it made me want to watch the rest of it, but I have not seen the whole thing.
Joseph?
Honestly, the last 30 minutes, or at least the ending, the last few scenes might be my least favorite aspect. I feel like it's a little bit easy. It feels a little bit easy way of concluding it, but yeah, for a movie that's I agree with Cody that it's quite a bit of a long movie, but I think that it goes by pretty well. The cast is really stacked. I was surprised there were a lot of people I did not expect to see in this movie, not just the Sutherland father and son duo, and yeah, I enjoy it for the most part.
Matthew, have you seen it?
This is one of my friend's favorite movies, so I've been meaning to watch it, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
Wow, what a friend!
You're a bad friend.
Yeah,
jeez.
No, you're
apparently non-tolerant. No, bad.
God. Okay.
Just one more thing. I just realized it's kind of crazy. This was released the year before Batman and Robin, and the year after Batman Forever. So like,
when did Rainmaker come out?
97.
Yeah, 97 next year.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
All
right.
It's just crazy now that I'm realizing that that's how Schumacher sandwiched this movie.
Boatman, let's go to you. Your favorite movie that you logged this week?
I'm going with a theater release. This is a movie that has gotten some mixed reception.
I was shocked when I saw your review.
Really? Like
shocked.
I can't tell. Are you being sarcastic?
No, I really liked the movie, and I was shocked at how much you liked it.
Bullet Train rules, guys. Bullet Train is like, yes, it is like, is it like, you know, balls to the wall action and a bunch of like just crazy action? Yes, but it has it's visible and well done action because A, you can tell what is going on, and B, it's actually well lit because action movies don't light themselves anymore and they just look dark and foggy and you can't tell what's happening. This is a movie where you can tell what's happening and it's awesome, and you've got great characters. I love these characters. Like at the end of the day, that's what, like, a lot of action movies have sucky characters. These characters rule. Brad Pitt being all like awkward and anxious and just like totally uncomfortable in the situation that he's in, and it's hilarious. It's like the least Brad Pitt role ever. Everyone in the movie is like great. Joey King is really good in this, and I know a lot of people really liked The Princess. So like this is a good year to be Joey King. And she was really good in that. There's a lot of great comedy, specifically a moment involving a water bottle got me like very just like funny. There's a lot of like fist pumpy moments, particularly a certain song that plays towards the end of the movie is like very fun. But my favorite things about the movie are Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson. They are just hilarious. They have a great back and forth. I love the heck out of this. I honestly don't really quite get why like this has been so like divisive. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I really, really liked it. I was shocked. I was going into it. It was pitched to me. Mr. Tyler Butler actually came and paid me a visit in Manitowoc this week. It was really nice. And he came and watched it at my theater, and he left it, and I asked if he liked it. He said it was okay. He's like, I thought it was, he was like, it felt like Deadpool 2 meets Guy Ritchie. And that was like an immediate turnoff to me because I hate Guy Ritchie and I hate Deadpool 2. And honestly, I just don't really like any of David Leitch's movies besides John Wick, which he technically like, yeah, we know he directed it with Chad, but he's not credited. So I didn't like Atomic Blonde. Hobbs and Shaw is fine. I really didn't like Deadpool 2, like I said. So I wasn't really looking forward to it, but I really enjoyed it. I agree. Aaron Taylor Johnson, straight up, I think is one of the most underrated young working actors today. I think he's so good, and he continues to get better. Like, if you look at him in like Kick-Ass, like he's fine, like he's good, but he's fine. And then now he's just like, he's a star. He's so good in this movie. And Brian Tyree Henry, I've always liked. I think he was just awesome in this. There's fucking samurais. There's fucking like trains exploding. There's the crazy characters, fun shit. I had a really good time watching it. It was also great because I was sitting next to like an 80-year-old woman in the theater. And so every time that I went, because something very violent happened, she was just going, oh no. And I'm like, yeah, that guy did get stabbed. Like, so no, I had a good time. I also don't quite understand. I don't think it's like God's gift to action films. Like, I think I've seen other movies that feel similar. But I do think this is the better end of them. But I would never say that like Koho dropping the 5 on it. I'm like, dude, like calm down. But like the 4.5, like, okay, yeah, I can get behind it. I gave it a 4. I really liked it. I want to watch it again. If you're gonna see it, definitely do see it in the theater. I think it's worth the trip to the theater. So Cody, I'm assuming you haven't gotten to this one yet, but are you interested?
I'm super interested. I was very annoyed with the reviews because I was like, man, this looked really awesome from the trailer. But I was like, maybe the trailer has. But I think the reason Koho gave it such a high score is because I think this movie felt like it was at 2 times speed, because isn't it like fast paced action? So maybe that's why it's 5 times.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. Joseph, did you get a chance to see it?
Not yet. But you mentioned that you weren't sure if this was the big action movie for action movies. What about maybe just of this time period of the 2020s so far? What do you think? Where do you think it stacks up?
That's tough. I'd have to look at everything else, because right now, if I were to pick because it's definitely to me like Boatman said, fist bumping, hell yeah moments. I don't know how much that's going to hold up on rewatch versus something like Top Gun Maverick that I can say that shit holds up on rewatches, and I think will hold up as the years go on, versus I don't know if Bullet Train is going to hold up on second, third, fourth viewing. I hope it does, because I liked it.
I'll be honest, this is the first time in a while where coming out
House
of
of Gucci.
theater, I've immediately wanted to go back in and rewatch it. I don't like watching movies twice in the theater. This was a movie where I don't know what it was. Maybe I was just in a really good mood, but I just immediately wanted to go back in.
It's because your dad said, let's go watch a movie, and you're like, yeah, let's go.
That's true. That's true. Dr. Soul approved of this movie. He enjoyed the heck out of it.
But I'm interested to know about that, Joseph. So I'll look at a list of movies from the 2020s and let you know. Matthew, you got to see this. I think I saw a review from you, right?
Yeah, no, this movie was really fun. I think what I really like about it is how it uses the confined space of a bullet train and is able to create some really creative action sequences with the objects surrounding them. And I think visually it looks great, the lighting. I think the colorful cast of characters is really entertaining, and that's what also makes it so good, because the story isn't anything too special, but it's these really fun characters that you get to meet that really interested me.
Yeah. No, I'll say, even just filtering on Letterboxd, movies that I think are better that are action movies from this year, from the 2020s, Top Gun Maverick, No Time to Die, I thought was a lot stronger. Those were the first two that I saw that jumped out to me on the list. But out of those top ones, this is probably the next one, unless we count the movie that I'm going to talk about, which is also a new release. So we will get to that. So it pisses me off. I had to watch it at home, but Prey is fucking awesome. It's so fucking good. Maggie fell asleep in the last 20 minutes. Come on, Maggie. I don't think Maggie's seen the end of a movie in a year and a half. But Prey was really good. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. Honestly, this and Bullet Train are both probably in my top 10 of the year right now, but I had a really, really good time watching Prey. I thought that as a Predator movie, it did exactly what I needed. But I was just kind of as an action movie in general, it had really compelling characters. I cared about the lead characters. I cared about I don't want to spoil it. You can realize what's happening pretty much right away, and it's like the other movies, but the way the Predator is hunting and the rules that are set up as to why he's hunting the way he's hunting, I thought was really cool, really interesting. Thought the lead performance was very, very good. And honestly, I thought the visual effects were excellent. I liked the look of the Predator. I saw somebody complain that he looks different. Well, who fucking cares? I get they redesign it like every movie, but if this is a prequel, it's the first time he's on Earth, I don't care. I just thought the action was amazing, and I thought overall the movie was really, really fun. I do want to watch it again. So big fan of this. Cody, did you get to watch Prey?
2 questions. One, is this going to be in fandom?
No.
Okay. Then maybe after I watch the other terrible bomb you dropped on fandom with the Alien vs. Predator movies, but I'm going in release order, and I've hated Predator. Like the first Predator, I think is like awful. To be honest with you, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I never found anything. Maybe on this current watch that I'm doing, something will change my mind. But I've never been a big fan. I like Alien and Aliens, but I'm excited because it seems like everybody is on board with this, and maybe it's a new direction for Predator that makes sense. I know now all I keep seeing on Twitter is they want to see the Predator versus every different like era of people at some point. Like it would be a cool thing, and I think that's neat. I'm cool with it. It looks cool. It's really weird. I guess I know why it was released because they probably had to sell Hulu, but but I just think it loses some appeal because I think this movie would have done really well with big screen. I don't know. Like it's not like a drama that you like. Coda works on Apple TV because it's like you don't lose anything from Coda there. You lose something from a action movie on.
Yeah, there's one scene in particular, and I don't want to spoil it, but basically there's a lot of enemies going up against the Predator in one scene, and there's like it's towards the end of the second act, and I wish I saw that in the theater so bad. And I think the reason they probably stayed away was the Predator didn't do that well, and originally, if I could be mistaken, but originally this didn't start out as like they weren't gonna like advertise it as a Predator movie at all, and so I think their whole marketing for it was like, we're gonna make it for Hulu, we're gonna call it one thing that doesn't have Predator in it, and then people will just watch it and figure out it's a Predator movie. But Hulu decided, nah, fam, we're gonna mark the shit out of this. So, Kaleb, did you get to watch this?
I have not seen this yet. I'm intrigued by it. I don't really love the first Predator. I think it's like fine. I don't hate it, but I think it's like fine. So I've been kind of hesitant to watch it, but if it's supposed to be like really, really good, like even a curmudgeon like me can get behind it, I'll check it out.
Yes, I don't think it's like a 5-star movie or anything, but I gave it a 4. I had a really, really good time. Joseph, did you watch it?
I have not.
Okay. Matthew.
No, I haven't. I'm not really a big fan of the Predator franchise, but I really love 10 Cloverfield Lane, so I'm excited to see what Dan Trachtenberg has done with him.
This is that guy?
Yeah, it's the same guy as 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I'm kind of
which is honestly like S tier, like home thriller. Like
I like 10 Cloverfield Lane way more than everyone else did. More than everyone else did. But I really liked it.
That was one of my favorite movies that year. I'm with you on that one. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to Joseph. What you got for us?
So the film that stood out the most to me from the movies I logged on Letterboxd as my favorite one, because there's another one that stood out for my least favorite one, but the one that stood out to me for my favorite one was a recent release as well, but it was from the end of last year. Finally caught up this past week. The Last Duel. Oh. This movie is. I think Ridley Scott has a lot of talent as a director. Alien and Blade Runner should be enough to prove that. I think I love those two movies, and I also really like Gladiator and The Martian. But I don't know. For some reason, I feel like he's needed to. I feel like he's been having a bit of a slower end of his career for some reason. I think The Martian was good, but I didn't love it as much as to give it a best comedy of the year at the Golden Globes. But this movie was 2.5 hours long, but I was very invested by the story. I was not expecting it to be told from multiple perspectives. So seeing the different characters' perspectives from Matt Damon and then Adam Driver and then Jodie Comer made me more interested and more, and it made me think more about the characters and their whole situation, about what they're, why they're there and why the duel is happening. And there were some revealing character moments from the different perspectives, and that tells you more about what Matt Damon and Adam Driver think about themselves, and I thought that was very interesting. And the duel itself, no spoilers in case anybody hasn't seen it, but it's great.
This was my favorite film of last year. I absolutely fucking love this movie. I've seen it 3 times now. I do need to watch it again, but I just did. If you follow me on Letterboxd, I just posted a Ridley Scott ranked list. I watched all of his films this year, and I finally got through them. But I actually started with this because it had just come out on Blu-ray in like February, and so I rewatched it on Blu-ray after seeing it twice in the theater, and then went back to the beginning with the Duelists and went all the way through. But I love the movie. I've talked about it on this show. I just think it's so good. It's so special. Jodie Comer, I think was honestly like robbed of any recognition. I think they all were, honestly. I think this movie in general, I wasn't mad when Will Smith slapped someone. I wasn't mad when there were weird jokes at the Oscar museum thing, but I was mad when they made a joke about the last duel at the Oscars. I was fucking pissed. I wanted to throw fists because this movie's awesome. I think it's so good, and it deserved a lot more recognition. But honestly, looking at Letterboxd, 39 people have rated it that we follow on the Multiplex account. So that's a good chunk of people. That's over half of the people we follow have logged this movie. So I'm glad that people are watching it. But it's just an excellent movie. From beginning to end. It's my second favorite Ridley Scott film now, officially as well, behind Alien. So I think it's just, and I would say recency bias, but I just watched all the movies and ranked them as I went. So I love it.
I'd have to rewatch Gladiator. It's been a while, but it's either Gladiator or this movie as my 3 behind Alien and Blade Runner. Also, Golden Raspberries, calm down on the Ben Affleck nomination. Of all the things that came up from it, that's the one that it gets, and that to me is annoying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have Gladiator at 6. I'm sorry.
What's between this and Gladiator?
I have Alien, Last Duel, Martian, Black Hawk Down, Blade Runner, then Gladiator. So,
okay.
What, Boatman? What?
Nothing.
You don't like Black Hawk Down?
I haven't seen Black Hawk Down.
All right, then why are you yelling at me?
I didn't yell at you.
Cody, Last Duel.
I mean, I'll yell at you. That ranking's trash. But I'm proud of you that you completed it. Gladiator perfection. Anyways,
it's really good.
And Blade Runner is one of the worst movies I ever watched. And if you haven't watched Mayhem at the Multiplex, then you can't give me any crap because I will never watch that movie again. After that debate. Anyways, on that note, he beat me. He picked Roy Batty, and he beat me and that was where I lost against Kirk. Go watch the match. It's terrible. Anyways, Last Duel, great movie. The movie's made for me. I've always said that. Like when one of these movies come out, it's like Irishman. I don't care what other people rate it. When Irishman came out, it was going to be perfect for me. This is one of those movies. I think this is like the biggest crime from the Oscar season altogether. I just still don't understand how it just like skated under the radar and no one gave it anything and no one nominated it. I think Ben Affleck by far is the worst of everybody in the movie. I'm sorry, like I'm not saying he's bad, but he if anything, you give him bad for the haircut. But overall, I think
that's fair.
The movie works. I love how they take different perspectives on all of it. I love the ending of this movie. I think it's absolutely incredible. I think Matt Damon, like the more I talk about Matt Damon, like he's probably in my top 5 favorite actor of all time. Like I love Damon's work. Like the more I look into it, like he does movies that are perfect for me. I love The Martian. So yeah, great job. Last Duel should have gotten way more appreciation.
Especially when you look at the fact that it came out like literally a month before House of Gucci, and that was the one getting all of the like Oscar buzz. It's just like it's stupid because this movie they're night and day. I rewatched House of Gucci yesterday, and
I haven't yet.
It's not that great. Boatman.
Yeah, no. Last Duel is fantastic. Jodie Comer has such a tough job. She has to play 3 different characters essentially. She has I think she has the toughest job out of everyone in the movie because while Matt Damon and Adam Driver and even Ben Affleck to agree have to play different versions of their character, I think Jodie Comer has to be completely different depending on which version of basically depending on who's telling the story. I'll also say I really like Ben Affleck in this to the point where I would say he's not my least favorite of the main 4. I would actually say, even though he's fantastic, Adam Driver is my least favorite of the main 4. But I think all 4 leads are fantastic. There's not a bad banana in the bunch.
Yeah, that's fair. Matthew, did you see this?
Yeah, I was the only person in my theater that watched this.
Wow.
Very unfortunate, but yeah, no, it was a really great movie. I think it tells a very effective story by using the 3 different perspectives, and all the performances are amazing, especially Jodie Comer. It's great.
Yeah, it was super weird. I watched it early at the theater, so I was obviously alone the first time I saw it because I was watching it early, but the second time Maggie and I went and saw it, it was a packed auditorium. So all I had been seeing online was nobody's going to see this movie. It didn't make any money. And then we walked into the theater and it was sold out. And maybe that's just the town I live in is this is the type of movie that would do well. Would you say old white people? So yeah. But yeah, I really love this movie. So great pick. Matthew, let's go to you.
Okay. So I've been watching a lot of movies for Picture This. And so the last week that we talked about, The Lost Weekend is my pick.
What's the year?
This is 1945. Yeah.
Wow, Matthew, you're a great ventriloquist.
Oh, stop.
I'm making a joke. Relax.
I know. Go on, Matthew.
Okay. Yeah, this movie is it's incredible. It's Billy Wilder. He just doesn't miss. And it's a really bleak look at an alcoholic who's really well played by Ray Milland, and you just he's drinking and you don't want to see him continue to drink. You just want it to stop. It's really easy to root for this character, and then also just the screenplay is also brilliantly written. I think Wilder and Brackett, they're able to create some more lighthearted moments, even if it's kind of hard to see this descent into hopelessness. I think there's some really great scenes with just the bartender and the main character. I think his wife, played by Jane Wyman, is really good. And yeah, this is just an incredible film.
I have not seen this, but I talked about it a lot. It's hard for me to get into classics, but this is one that I have been told is really, really, really good. We've talked about it on this show before. And so I do want to watch it because I've liked more Billy Wilder than I haven't liked. I would go as far as to say that Some Like It Hot is probably one of my favorite classic films in general. I think it's really, really fucking good. So I do want to watch this. Because this is way more dramatic, right? It's not a comedy, right? Or anything. Because the only other Billy Wilder film I think I've seen is The Apartment, which leans more comedic and romance than anything. So I'd like to watch a movie of his that leans more into the drama stuff. So yeah, Cody.
That somebody that started Billy Wilder last year, or the year before, I don't remember, but we've got to stop using the phrase that Billy Wilder doesn't miss. There's a movie out there called Kiss Me Stupid. It's basically Me Too before Me Too came about. It's so awesome. Irma La Deuce is great. I don't want to hear the word.
Irma La Deuce is good.
Great. Comedic genius. Great. But this movie is one I would say is one that's very underlooked from Wilder, because even though it won Best Picture, it's very underlooked because it doesn't have the same, The Apartment, Sunset Boulevard, like those names attached to it, but it's one that won. And I think he's like my 22nd of the best actor wins. He's in my 22nd rank on that. I think he's absolutely incredible the way he balances. I think the only gripe for this movie is like the score that sounds over it. It gets pretty like loud at certain points, and that some people have griped at, and I can see that. But overall, love it. Please don't tell me all you picture of this crew watched this on call together, because if you did, I'm okay. Good. Y'all drive me nuts. But this great. Matthew doesn't drive me nuts. The rest of them drive me nuts. But yes, this is a great movie. Great choice, and I'm glad you got to watch it.
Boatman, what's your take?
Oh yeah, Last Weekend is fantastic. Ray Milan rules. This is like probably Billy Wilder's most grimy looking movie. Like this is his probably like most seedy feeling film. Like you can maybe argue like Sunset Boulevard, but even then this doesn't. There's something about the way this movie feels. It just feels very like nasty, like not in a bad way, but there's just something about like just every shot that just kind of feels very uncomfortable and makes you feel very uneasy. It's a fantastic film. Yeah, Ray Milan's great. Jane Wyman rules.
It's very similar to like Uncut Gems, when like he keeps reaching for the cash and stuff, and it makes your stomach just turn. Like, just stop. You can get out of this. You can leave, and he just keeps grabbing for the bottle. It's similar to that.
That's a good comparison. Joseph.
Yeah, I watched this movie for the first time earlier this year to complete my last stretch of Best Picture winners. I liked it. I think that it's a really, really good and really well-directed movie and acted movie. I think Ray Milland is the best part of it. I just haven't really thought about it much afterwards. Like, I watched it and I was like, this is a really good movie. But I haven't really thought about it much afterwards. Like, there's Billy Wilder movies that I've seen that make me think about them more, and also think about whether for serious films like Sunset Boulevard make me think about the commentary about it and keeps staying with me, and other movies like The Apartment or Some Like It Hot that make me go, that was funny. I remember that part made me laugh, or that part was so funny. Also, this movie, it's really good. It's in the lower end of the Wilder films that I've seen, but it's still really good.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, then let's move on to our least favorite movies that we've logged this week. Cody, we're going to kick it off with you.
Oh boy, the worst ones I've logged. Okay.
Least favorite.
Least favorite.
Here. Okay, I'll just talk about this one. I think one of them's pretty obvious. No, I'll talk about this one. Superman sucks. I just want to get this out there. Like, Superman is a bad superhero. I'm picking Superman 2. I could have picked Herbie Goes Bananas, but that's like a Disney movie that, like, for that time, I bet there's a lot of Now, this is not the precious Donner cut that people talk about that makes this movie from unwatchable mess to a watchable. I don't know, but let's be real. Zod should have won. Superman should have died, and we should have just not had any more of these, because
Cody's internet was offended by his take.
See, it was fine until he started talking crap about the Donner cut.
He can finish talking when he comes back. I don't love this movie. I think it's fine. I actually agree with Cody that Superman does kind of suck. There's only one Superman movie I would go as far as to say that I like, and it's not the one that everyone thinks I'm going to say. It's not Superman the movie.
Superman Returns?
I actually really like Superman Returns. I think Superman Returns is pretty baller. But yeah, Superman 2, I think is just, I don't know. There's something about it that I've just never vibed with. Like, everybody, I remember growing up and everyone was like, this is like the best superhero movie ever made. And I'm like, really? Like, really? And I don't even like the Donner cut that much. I haven't watched it in a while because trivia. I got to watch the theatrical. But yeah, It's fine. I don't hate it. I just it's not my favorite movie for sure. Boatman.
Yeah, so I watched the Donner cut first, and then I watched the theatrical cut, and I was kind of shocked how different the two cuts are. Superman 2 not good. It's not good. The Donner cut is great though. Really like the Donner cut. I think the Donner cut kind of feels like a proto Spider-Man 2 a little bit, like a lot of the same themes. I really like the Donner cut.
Joseph.
The first time I watched this movie I've only seen this once, and it was when I was trying to marathon the Christopher Reeve Superman films. The only one I had seen at that time was the first one, but I wanted to rewatch it to give it a refresher. I still enjoy the first one. Like, I get the people's issues with it, with the term.
I like it more now. When I was first studying for trivia, I didn't love Superman the movie, but I've come around on it. I like it.
That's fair. But I just like I don't know, I feel like this version of Superman at least has such a good he feels like anyway, I'm just saying I still really like the first one. The second one, I also have feelings that it's fine. There are parts that I like about it, but there are scenes that really irk me. Like the part where how the whole process of how Lois is trying to get Superman's identity and the way that she puts herself out in different situations make me go like, what are you doing? You're stupid. And there are other things, but that aspect really stuck out to me as like, why is this regarded as infinitely superior to the original? Like, of course, if you're going to compare it to Superman 3 or Superman 4, which I watched afterwards, then of course it's going to look like a masterpiece. But I don't know. Maybe it needs a rewatch, but it's fine. I haven't seen the Donner cut.
Matthew, what about you?
I actually like Superman too. I think what I like most about it is Superman and Lois, just their relationship together. I find really charming, and I think Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder, they're just really delightful together. So that's really the best part of that. Like, keeps me that I love the most. And I haven't seen the Donner cut though.
Cody, why don't you finish telling us about Superman 2?
Is my mic bad?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, that's fine. No, like I said, I think Superman, like for the time that it came out, or like when people read comics, I just has like super nostalgia feels for everybody. But how you could ever like sit there and read like a comic book of Superman and Batman and then pick Superman as your favorite, I just question you as a person overall. The man's like identity is glasses. Like the green rock that's able to take him down, everybody has it. And everybody can access it. Like, what? If you're that big and powerful, like, why would people? It's so dumb. I don't know the difference between the Donner cut and this. I've never watched it just because it wasn't for trivia. But like, I don't think it can do much better. Like, I do think Zod, who plays Zod again? I can't.
Terrence Stamp.
I think he's great, like overall. Like, that's the only reason I'm in the movie. But Superman and Lois Lane, like that entire, I don't like any of that. I'm so bored by the entire thing. And the people that like this is one of DC's like big three. Oh gosh, Wonder Woman as a character is better than Superman. Glasses. The entire city of Metropolis is confused by glasses. And if there's not a phone booth by, he doesn't know how to change. Like it's the dumbest thing ever. He can't even fit in this world because he has. I don't know what to do. Like, gosh, terrible in 2022. I'll tell you that much.
All right, Boatman. Let's move on to you. Your least favorite you logged this week.
I hate your comment, Joseph.
What?
I hate Joseph's comment that he just put. It's about he parts his hair too.
Okay. So as people watch the show know, I go through best original screenplay. I'm going through best original screenplay winners right now. This is not a bad movie purely, but this is a movie that would be a bad movie if it wasn't for its lead actor who gives a great comedic performance. I'm going with The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer. This is a movie where, okay, so Cary Grant plays this bachelor who this judge has a sister. This female judge played by Myrna Loy has a sister, and the sister is played by Shirley Temple. And Shirley Temple is obsessed with Cary Grant's character in this movie to the point where she breaks into Cary Grant's house and the police show up and it looks like that Cary Grant had like a 15-year-old girl in his apartment. So anyway, the judge decides that the solution for this is to basically blackmail Cary Grant into dating her sister so that she then doesn't want to date him anymore. It makes no sense. It's weird. Thankfully, it's like 1947. So like the one thing that is like the saving grace of this movie is that Cary Grant is selling it perfectly in that he is the most uncomfortable human being ever in this movie. He is like, he does not feel okay in this situation. He is like the one yelling at everyone else like, hey, no, this is a terrible idea. And it's Cary Grant. And he's very funny. He's very charming. But that's the only good thing. Everything else is like creepy and it's just a very uncomfortable plot that, like, yes, it came out in 1947, but still very creepy. How this one original screenplay makes no sense. Weird. It's weird, guys. It's weird.
All right. No, thank you. I have not seen it. Don't plan to. Cody.
I have seen this. So me and Boatman are doing similar to the thing. Right now I'm taking a pause because of FANDOM. But man, yeah, I've said this before. I think Cary Grant is one of the funniest actors that's ever existed. Like, I think he's like, I wouldn't say, I don't want to compare the two, but he's very similar to like his facial expressions and his body movements of his time, of like a Jim Carrey of like his time. I think he's so funny with what he's able to do. This movie is awkward and weird and should have no place been made. I just want to be in the pitch meeting for this. Like somebody said, yeah, brilliant, cut, print, everything. Like, oh. And Cary Grant knows how awkward of a movie he is in, and that's the only reason I liked the movie as much as I did, because of Cary Grant scenes. Like, he realizes how uncomfortable this is making him, but he's in the movie. Crazy. I don't suggest it for anybody. I don't think it holds anything special. I looked at my rating. I gave it 3 stars. I just really like Cary Grant in it, but overall, I think the movie's bad. The movie's bad.
Honestly, talking about it, I feel like I need to lower my rating. It's a movie that the more you think about it, the worse it gets, really, is the truth of it.
Joseph, have you seen it?
I have not, but the outlandish, crazy, and wild and far-fetched story that Boatman and Cody are telling me make me think that it was voted as the winner for that year because it's so outlandish that it can only exist in the movies.
Dumb movies.
No, I haven't seen this. I like Cary Grant and Myrna Loy, but I guess the only reason I watch it if I'm going through the screenplay winners, but I don't plan to do it anymore.
Pretty much the only context in which you should or would ever watch this.
All right, we'll move on to mine. I did not watch a Robert Parker movie this week, so I do not have any juicy stories for you this week about that. But what I do have is I rewatched a movie because I have a problem. Let me tell you guys about something. So I decided that I collect Blu-rays, like I collect movies. It's like my thing. So like, and it's gotten to the point now where I'm not just buying movies because I like movies. I'm actually also just like buying movies because I'm collecting stuff that's like worth something to me in some sort of weird way. And that involved me having to buy every Exorcist film, which means that I had to suffer through Exorcist: The Beginning, which I watched in 2020 on DVD when one beautiful man named Brian Michaels sent me the DVD in the mail because I had never seen it, and he wanted to get rid of it, and he gave it to me. Very nice man. But then I went and spent $20 and bought the Blu-ray, and it's not good. It's very bad. I'm gonna watch Dominion later. It's arguably worse. It's arguably worse, and this is just like everything wrong with what they have tried to do with Exorcist post the original. It's just amazing how the original is so perfect, and yet they just can't figure it out again. Like I watched 3 last week, and 3's pretty good, but it's still not like it's like a 3-star movie to me. But this is just terrible. There's hyenas. There's Stellan Skarsgård doing something. It's boring. It's 2 hours long and it's boring. Nothing happens. It's just that's the biggest sin. You don't care about the characters. There's no good performances. It's like seriously awful, but not in the way that I've talked about recently with like Tank Girl and all these other fucking movies that I've watched. Like this gets a 1-star rating because it's just incompetent in every sense of the imagination. It's not being goofy and crazy like The Shadow or The Spirit. It's just incompetent. And I can't say that about a ton of movies where they're just like, you have good actors, you have a decent director, you have a franchise where you should be able to milk something good out of it. And instead we are sitting here watching a boring fucking movie. It's like unacceptable in this type of setting in this franchise. It's ridiculous. So Cody, I know you just watched the original pretty recently for the first time, so I doubt you've seen this, but have you seen this?
I would say if you had to pick like a movie that changed how I look at film in the like last year or two, The Exorcist, the first one, was that movie. I've thought about it constantly since watching that movie. I think it's an absolute. I gave it 4.5, which I'm very mad at myself. But it gives me an excuse to watch it again. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's absolutely a masterpiece. I just hate you in the regards where you started this by saying, I'm now buying movies that mean something to me, that are important to me.
That's not what I said.
Oh, what'd you say?
I'm buying stuff that matters to my collection in the sense that, like, I want to have complete sets.
Okay.
Stuff like
okay. Well, that makes me even more upset because for you to believe that there's other movies besides the first one, that's just we can just leave. You can tell yourself that there's only one and move on. But you know what? You hate yourself from time to time. So, you know, the beginning and all that stuff, you do you. But sounds like a terrible time. And the beginning started with the first one, I would say. So you don't need to watch the beginning.
Yeah, right. Boatman.
Have not seen this. Probably don't plan to.
Joseph.
I have not seen this, but I know this movie as the one that helped Adam Collins get a clean sweep of the table at the Horror Free-for-All, so that's how I remember it.
Fair. Matthew?
Yeah, this movie's bad. Yeah. I pretty much agree with everything you say, except I do like Stellan Skarsgård a little bit. Like he's watchable at least, but the rest of the movie is really boring. It's shouldn't be 2 hours.
Oh, and I think the Paul Schrader cut is longer. So
I still haven't seen that one, but that's the only Exorcist movie I'm missing now.
Wait, is this Paul? I knew Dominion was Paul Schrader. Is this also Paul Schrader?
Rennie Harlin.
So no, this is Rennie Harlin, but they're the same movie. So basically, Paul Schrader was making a Exorcist movie called Dominion.
Yeah.
And he got taken off the project because the studio didn't like what he was doing. They hired Rennie Harlin, and Rennie Harlin came in and reshot like 60% of the movie. There's a main character in this where it is a completely different actor. So if you watch these side by side, this and Dominion, they're basically the same movie, but a few different actors, a couple different things. But when this bombed at the box office, they brought Schrader back in and he completed his film. And so now that's why there's both versions. So it's Exorcist at the beginning, and then it's Dominion prequel to The Exorcist is what it's called. So
Yeah, I did not know that those were the same movie.
yeah, they're basically. I didn't know either until Tyler Butler actually told me about it, because I was like, yeah, I haven't seen either of the prequels. He goes, well, they're like the same thing. And I was like, what? And then when I watched them last year, I watched them back to back. So that's it. It's kind of interesting actually from that perspective, but the movies are just, it'd be better if the movies were good, but they're not.
That's why I haven't watched Dominion yet, because they're basically the same movie. So I didn't watch them back to back. I wanted to wait a little bit, then watch the same movie again. But
yeah, pretty much. Okay. Joseph.
Yeah, I said I haven't seen it.
Oh no, I meant we'll go to you for your least favorite.
Oh, okay. So yeah, a while ago, I went on a binge watch of several Siskel and Ebert movie reviews, and there were a couple of movies that the way that they were talking about it made me kind of interested in watching them. One of them I was able to catch up on this past week. I was like, oh yeah, that's the one movie that they were talking about on that movie. Roger Ebert liked it. Gene Siskel was like, nah, not that great. But the way that they were talking about it made me kind of interested in watching it. I was not the biggest fan of it. The movie is called Class of 1984. Can you take a guess what year it was released?
1984.
It was 1982.
Oh.
But anyway, this movie is about a teacher who wants to, who's taking up a position at a very wild and terribly run school. Think of Lean on Me. It's worse than Lean on. It's worse than the school in Lean on Me. This movie. This movie shows a lot of the punks, the main antagonists of the movie, doing a lot of bad stuff, but also getting away with all of it because nobody catches them on time doing it. But they have the reputation that everyone assumes that they know that they're doing it, but they're letting them get away with it because they don't have any evidence or footage or even... They basically don't catch them on time in doing the stuff. And when the teacher tries to, in one major incident that they do, one of the terrible things that they do, the teacher confronts one of them, takes him into the bathroom, and then sternly warns him, you better watch out for yourself. You need to stop this. And then the student beats himself up for him to frame the teacher that he beat him up. And then the teachers put on a warning because they take the word of the student over the teacher. And the teacher says that he didn't beat him up, but they're not going to believe him. And the whole concept of that made me so mad about this movie. I get how it's supposed to be satirical. The movie is like a commentary about how messed up some aspects of the school system is, but I don't think that the way that the story ends is in any way satisfying compared to how terrible some of the stuff that these punk students do, trying to get through them and then get the ending that we get. I don't think it's cathartic enough or worth seeing all these terrible stuff that they do in the movie to warrant to watch that. So yeah, that was my least favorite movie that I logged this past week. I will say there are a few elements of it that I think were all right. Roddy McDowall appears in this movie as one of the teachers in this movie, and he has an interesting scene later in the movie. I hate the last scene that he does in the movie. I think that his character arc kind of goes to. Well, I feel like they do him dirty at the very end, and then you get to see a chubby Michael J. Fox in this movie, pre Back to the Future, and that was kind of amazing to see. But again, you gotta see some terrible things done, and you don't get enough of a catharsis with the ending, or at least I didn't, to warrant watching all that terrible stuff that they do to merit the recommendation.
Yeah, I never heard of this, never seen it, but I did watch Lean on Me a couple of weeks ago. That shit was good. I enjoyed that very much. Thought that was very good. Cody, have you seen this?
Nope. Doesn't look like something. It's short, but doesn't
It
look
is.
like
It
something
is.
I'll pick up.
Boatman
Haven't even heard of this movie until now.
and Matthew.
Yeah, haven't heard of it.
Okay. All right. Matthew, let's move on to you for your least favorite.
Okay, so I made the dumb decision to watch a streaming original horror movie on the other streaming original horror movie that came out this weekend. It was They/Them. And
Tell us
this,
about
this movie is for those of you that don't know, it's a slasher that's set in a conversion camp, and it's called They/Them. Like, it feels like it should have a lot of potential to be good, and it just wasn't. I think the only positives I can really say about it is that there's really good representation. Like, everyone who is either a non-binary or lesbian, like, they are actually in real life. So I think I have to give them props for casting actual queer actors. And Kevin Bacon, he's pretty solid. Like, he knows, he's an actor. Like, he knows how to act, and he definitely outshines them. But the movie doesn't really know what it wants to be. Like, there's some really tough scenes with like the conversion therapy stuff. But then they were including these like sex scenes, or like slasher stuff. Or the slashing also starts way too late. And then once the murders start happening, it becomes very clear who the killer is. And yeah, I think this is also directed by John Logan, who is a screenwriter for like Skyfall and Gladiator. And you wouldn't believe that from watching this. Like, the screenplay is really bad, really cringy. Yeah, it tries to have a message, but it doesn't really work. Like, yeah, I very disappointing.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of this. Doesn't sound like something I will watch if it's that bad. But maybe one day, who knows? Cody.
I think me and Mike just talked about this last night. Is it directed by Kevin Bacon?
It's directed by John Logan.
John Logan. Okay. Oh, I think maybe his return to slashers, like he was back for the movie or whatever. It wasn't great, is what I've heard. So the subject matter seems like, it seems like it'd be interesting and sees where it could go. But yeah, with you clicked on it. I would never click on it, but since you didn't like it, there's no chance I'm ever clicking on it. So I appreciate it for you telling me.
Boatman, what about you?
I have only vaguely heard of this movie. I remember there being a little bit of hype when the trailer dropped, and then now.
And Joseph.
I haven't seen it.
All right. Well, we are going to move on to the meat and potatoes of the show. We're going to talk about our list, our best movies that we've watched for Multiplex. Cody, why don't you kick us off?
So my first one it's kind of a cheat, but it does count because many people told me to watch it prior to when I watched it. But I watched it for YLS. Sorry, both of mine are coming from YLS. I don't play trivia, so F the trivia players. I'm going Dr. Sleep. I'm going for Doctor Sleep. As somebody that loves The Shining, I've said this before. If you would have told me that I was going to get a Shining sequel, I would have said no, thank you. There's no need. And then there are days that when I think about this movie, I could possibly like it more than The Shining, which is impressive. I think I watched the 3-hour version. I don't know what version that was. I don't know if that's theatrical or director.
3-hour
Yeah,
was
it was only 2.5.
Yeah,
Okay, so I didn't feel the 3 hours. I enjoyed it. I honestly could have stayed in the world a little bit longer. I think Rebecca Ferguson in this movie is absolutely incredible. I think she is like I don't know if I just didn't see enough movies with her in it or prioritize her, but like there's a scene in that movie when she like puts the hat on and like floats above the earth and lands on the street. It's like one of the coolest cinematic moments for me. I think Ewan McGregor playing, going back, playing that character and like the entire world that they're able to build and go back and outside the Overlook, which I thought was also going to be a feat that I wouldn't want. Like a lot, like I just think was maybe a bad decision, but honestly, it wasn't. It worked out perfectly. I think Koho and Tim and everybody was telling me, Cody, watch this movie. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll get to it. And I wish I would have went to it sooner. I think the movie is absolutely incredible. Yeah, I can't wait for the next time I watch it. It's been on my rewatch list for a while, but it's so good. Cameron Holtzman gave it to me, by the way. That's the reason I watched it.
Yeah, no, Doctor Sleep rules. Like the stuff in the Overlook is my favorite stuff in the movie. I think like the way once we get to the Overlook, the movie just looks different because it looks like The Shining, whereas the rest of the movie doesn't really look like The Shining, which isn't a problem, but it doesn't. I really like Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's great. I think that they and kind of the way the True Knot works is like really fascinating, and I like all that. Ewan McGregor's really good. Yeah, no, really solid. One of the better Stephen King movies. I also believe I did watch this for Multiplex for when I played Adam Collins, but I don't. This wasn't one of my picks, but it's a great choice.
Joseph.
I did not watch this for Multiplex, but I did watch it in the theaters for this movie. I don't know where I was going, but I didn't see this for Multiplex, but I do really like this movie. This movie has one of my favorite scenes involving a bunch of drawers. I'll put it that way. That scene is so satisfying to me. It went down a little bit on rewatch, but I think that for a 2.5 hour long movie, that's the only version I've seen. I think it goes by really well, and I like the creepy atmosphere that it builds as the movie progresses.
Matthew, what about you?
Yeah, this movie is great. It's really rare to see a sequel to just such a classic film and still be good. So I think Dr. Sleep does it really well. I haven't seen it since theaters, but I've been wanting to watch the director's cut.
I'm with Matthew. I actually haven't seen the director's cut. I own it, but I watched it once in the theater, really loved it, and then once on Blu-ray. And so I got to watch the director's cut. But yeah, I'm a fan of the theatrical big time. I would go as far as to say I like it more than The Shining. So, okay. Boatman, let's go to you. Your favorite or your first pick, sorry.
Yeah, my first pick, I just personally kind of split it up into a movie I watched for trivia purposes and then a movie I watched for one of the other shows. So my first one is a movie I watched for trivia purposes. And I once, when I was going to play Michael Campbell, I was like, hey, or I didn't know that I was going to play Michael Campbell, but when I knew I was going to be playing the winner of the 2020 tournament way back then, I was like, hey, what's a category that I could just slap on people that no one would expect from me? And I went with Spike Lee, and I ran through all of Spike Lee's filmography. And one of my favorites of those, and my favorite first-time watch of those, was Crooklyn. Crooklyn is a movie that I had never heard anyone talk about before I watched it. Like, I had never heard anything positive or negative about Crooklyn. Crooklyn is, from what I understand, it's Spike Lee's most like autobiographical movie. He co-wrote it with his sister, and it is just about this family living in 1970s era Brooklyn, and it kind of just centers around them. You got Delroy Lindo and Alfre Woodard as the mom and dad. They are both fantastic. They're both really good. You got the kids. There's a lot. It's very much a hangout movie. It just kind of is about this neighborhood in Brooklyn and just kind of the things. And then the movie kind of starts to get a little bit more serious, and it's still really good. It's fantastic. The soundtrack rips. The soundtrack goes like so hard. It's like one of the greatest like 1970s soundtracks of all time. It is fantastic. It's like, it looks very colorful. It's one of my favorite Spike Lee movies. What?
Joseph.
I have not seen it.
Okay. Matthew.
What?
I haven't seen it.
I have not seen it either. Cody.
This is such a cheat. Once you watch for Multiplex, he got to watch it himself. Do I get to pick The Wolf of Wall Street next because I picked it as a strength? I thought this was what's going to give us stuff. Cheat.
When YLS, the movie you watched for trivia, you could pick a movie that you watched yourself.
Yeah.
I know. I think it's a cheap shot. That's just
Wait, what are you upset about? I'm confused.
He picked it as a strength for himself, so he got to choose the movie to watch. No one else gave him to watch it. That's my.
Yeah. No, he watched it for. Had you seen it before? Or did you?
No, I had never seen it before.
The way that I picked my stuff is, it had to be the first time I watched it for something on here.
Yeah, it was the first time I watched it. Yeah,
I still.
And I wouldn't have watched it had I not decided to use it as a category.
Cheap. I'm not. But it's fair.
All right.
You allowed it for YLS, so that's your fault.
I'm gonna go next, and I might piss off Cody. I don't know, but I haven't done a ton of Warzone studying in my life, and the times that I have, it's usually movies I don't like. But believe it or not, I had not seen every FANDOM movie before I started playing. I was very high on it, but there were, I believe, in 2020, when I watched everything that I hadn't seen before, there were like 25, like 30 movies I had never seen. So, and by far my favorite out of all of those was A History of Violence. Because again, there are movies that have come out since being in FANDOM that I like more than this movie, like Avengers Endgame, Joker, Toy Story 4. There are movies that I like more than this one, but if it's a movie that's older that I watched for the first time because of this, because of trivia, it's this one. And I just think the movie's fantastic. I haven't seen a ton of Cronenberg, but this one I am a huge fan of. I've talked about it on this show before. I've talked about it on a lot of shows. I just think it's fantastic from beginning to end. I think Viggo Mortensen is really, really good. William Hurt, rest in peace, I think is fantastic at the end. I don't know if I'd give him the Oscar nomination for his one scene wonder, but I think he's really, 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 really good. And it's always Ed Harris, as Cody says. He's awesome in this movie. But I just love the whole, like, this movie's 95 minutes. And it does such a good job at making you care about the characters in 95 minutes. It's ridiculous. I just think it's excellent. I remember the first time I watched it was actually in 2019. And because I found it on Blu-ray, like a used Blu-ray at a Blu-ray store, and I got it for like $3.99. And I went home and I did a double feature of this and Road to Perdition, and it was like the best night of my life. It was a fantastic evening. But this, I'm emotionally moved by this one every single time. I don't know why, but I just am, and I think it's great. So yeah, big fan. Cody, your thoughts on History of Violence?
Just to let you know, this one does count because it was in the realm that you had to play in, not that you were going to drop on somebody. Anyways, History of Violence, great movie. One of the first times I watched it because I had to play FANDOM. It was on my short list. Only one scene in this movie I really don't like. I think it's everybody's least favorite part of this movie. But other than that, it's just so uncomfortable. But overall, the movie is great. I think the action in it is really good. Isn't this the one William Hurt got?
He got nominated.
No.
For it.
Yeah. We're still weird. Still one of the weirdest things I've ever I don't understand it. But yeah, the action. Ed Harris is one of the best villains of all time in anything. I think he's absolutely great. Needs to be in the MCU as some villain. I don't know why we haven't had that happen yet. But yeah, overall great choice. Yeah, overall great choice. Also, that isn't it the foot? Isn't that where the stab goes? Does he get stabbed in the foot?
Yeah.
Oh, still, that's one.
We've asked that question, so I feel okay saying it. Yeah. One of my favorite reviews for this on Letterboxd is Jack Pinchuk, in which before he gives it a 5-star and then says that he actually has it at a 9.7 out of 10. So, Jack, I hate to break it to you, but that's not a full 100% 5 stars then. So you got to fix your rating system.
I wish he went back to the 9-point stuff because I just need to know what is higher than that one,
Yeah, what would have gotten it to the 9.8?
Yeah.
I want to know, yeah. Boatman, A History of Violence. What's your take?
Yeah, no. History of Violence, I think I've only seen it the one time. I think it's really good. It's not quite... It's a movie that I feel like could be an all-timer for me. It isn't, but it's really good. I do really like William Hurt in it. I think Ed Harris is really good in it too. And I really like the idea of this guy who has mob ties, who isn't trying to do anything and just trying to live his life. And the seeds just kind of start seeping back in, and he's just trying his best to keep it out. And I think that's really fascinating. I honestly think the worst stuff about it, though, is his home life stuff. Maria Bello is really good, but I just think they could have made that stuff more interesting. I don't know. That's the one weak link of the movie for me.
That's fair. Joseph.
Yeah, this movie, one thing that really impressed me about it, one of the many things that impressed me about it is that the violence is ugly. The violence in this movie hit me because the movie shows that it's not easy at all for Tom, Viggo Mortensen's character, to try to move on from that. He does his best, and as a character, I think that's a very interesting look at it. But it's downright scary how quick, if the moment calls for it, he can just turn into a super violent self-defense type of assassin machine guy. And I love seeing how that totally affects affects himself, but also changes the perception of from different people around him, including his family. And that ending was not what I expected, but I liked it.
Matthew.
This is a fandom movie that I haven't gotten to yet because Jack gave it a 9.7, so I just trust him if we ever get it in teams. But yeah, I do really like Cronenberg. I've seen 6 of his movies and I've enjoyed all of them. So I just got to get to this.
Cool. All right. Joseph, let's go over to you. What is your first pick?
Okay. So I was previously on the YLS episode of Best Films Watched for Trivia. You could go over there and check out some other stuff that I've seen there. So there are a couple of movies that I watched. There are a couple of movies on that list that I watched for Multiplex. But for the sake of variety, I would like to talk about 2 new ones that I have seen. I've actually there are actually two new ones that I've seen since the YLS episode because I watched these movies for matches that I played in Warzone earlier this year. The first one that I wanted to talk about was a movie that I watched for Bullets Over Broadway versus Wild Stallions. Kirk and Andrew gave us Martin Scorsese directed movies and
Hell
movies
yeah.
with what?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are we talking about a Scorsese movie?
Sorry?
Are we talking about a Scorsese movie?
Not this time.
Damn it!
You got his hopes up, Joseph. Can't do that. You can't get his hopes up.
There were a number of Scorsese movies I saw for the first time that I really liked. The Reese Witherspoon category, not so much. Andrew gave us quite a bit of stinkers in that category, except for one. There was one movie that I really, really dug from the Reese Witherspoon category, and that's Mud. Mud with Matthew McConaughey. I think this movie, I love the characters in this movie and the story. What?
Not about nothing to do with the there was a comment that confused me until I realized what they were trying to say.
Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, I love the characters in this movie and the way that they're written. Ty Sheridan's character is I like the journey and the character arc that he goes through. Like he's trying to help out Matthew McConaughey's character reunite with Reese Witherspoon's character because he believes in their love and in their story. And there are some secrets that McConaughey's character is hiding. He's running from the law, and I like how the story unfolds and you see more secrets that he has. And it's just a huge wake-up call for Ty Sheridan's character in terms of what to expect from out of life, that you can't, life isn't that simple, and it isn't an easy fantasy to live out. Life presents you some hard things to learn from. And I thought that was a very interesting aspect of it that made me enjoy it a lot. I love the atmosphere a lot. The cinematography is really great. I think that it has a good balance of being kind of grimy, but also grounded. It's not like a Michael Bay type super dirty, bright thing that it annoys me with some of his movies. But this feels like a realistically grounded movie, but also a very well-told, simple movie with a good amount of depth to it. I liked it a lot. I really love this movie.
It's on my watch list. Haven't seen it yet.
Cool. Yeah, I saw this when it came out, and I really liked it. I wish I liked more of Jeff Nichols' movies. I didn't really care for Loving, and I was pretty disappointed by Midnight Special. I just didn't.
I've not seen those two yet.
Those are the ones that I've seen. And so there are parts about each of them that I like, but I think this is my favorite of the three. I think this is really, really good. McConaughey is stupid good in this movie. Yeah, it's a great movie. I need to give it a rewatch because I haven't seen it since I saw it. I think I saw it in the theater. If I didn't, I watched it at home like right after it came out. So big fan. Need to give it a rewatch. Good pick. Cody.
Also, real quickly, I love the climax. Really exciting.
Yeah. Cody, have you seen it?
Yeah, I also watched this for YLS top 100 acting performances. Barr had this as 100 with Matthew McConaughey. I honestly think Ty Sheridan is the best person in this movie. I think he's actually great, like incredible in this role. Mud was a movie I probably would not have watched. McConaughey is one of those actors that I really enjoy in his later resurgence from rom-coms, from Lincoln Lawyer, Mud, what he's been doing. I think I thought this movie was great. I think it will go up on a rewatch too. I just loved everything about the story and how complex it was. But yeah, it's great. It's a great choice. And only one of the only good things Barr ever did, because he also gave me 1776 that week, and that was bad.
That's fun.
But he
Boatman.
also picked like the worst performance from 1776. It was weird.
Boatman.
I have not seen this actually. I really want to.
All right. Matthew, we're going to move on to you for your first pick.
Okay, my first pick is when Squirtle Squad, we played Con of the Dead and they gave us Tim Burton. So I only had 2 movies to finish out. So I watched Mrs. Peregrine's and then I watched Ed Wood, and Ed Wood is my pick.
Go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, this one I really love the passion that Tim Burton has, like the love he has for Ed Wood, and you can tell that he wants to tell the story with a lot of care. It really made a very compelling story for one of the worst directors of all time. So Johnny Depp, I think he brings a lot of life to Ed Wood. You really see how passionate he is to creating all of his movies. I think Martin Landau is incredible as Bela Lugosi, and just they have a really beautiful relationship between Lugosi and Wood. I think really great side characters as well. There's the supporting cast is excellent, and I think there's just this charm to seeing these misfits throughout the movie, and yeah, I really love it.
I have not seen this. I really want to. I've been told that I would love it. I'm hit or miss on Burton, but I do really want to watch this one, but just haven't gotten around to it. Cody, I know you have feelings.
Yeah, a story about a shitty director told by a shitty director. That's basically how I feel. This movie, Tim Burton is awful. I wish I could understand what other people saw in his. I guess me and Boatman kind of finally discovered why I don't like certain directors. I don't like quirky directors. I don't like artistic, like artsy directors over substance. Wes Anderson, Tim Burton. I bet there's more out there. Those two that really come to mind. They really care about the stylistic of their sets and design, what they do versus the movie they're telling. I think Martin
there.
Cohen's hit and miss, so that makes a little bit more sense. When they're more simple and downright, I like them more than when they're out there. I think Martin Landau is great. I think he absolutely is. I think Johnny Depp's really bad in the movie overall. I don't think the movie's great, but overall he's playing a really bad, annoying guy. If I'm being real, I was blown away. Everybody told me I like it. All the reviews say it's really good. It was never going to click for me, but it's because Burton's a hack. So.
Boatman.
I mean, yeah, this is a movie that Cody was never going to like because I think he was just never going to vibe with this main character, right? I love the way Ed Wood is portrayed in this movie because I love the idea of a guy who is just so passionate and really nice and just really positive about something that he is terrible at. Like, he's awful and he has no self-awareness whatsoever. But he's not a bad person. That's what I like. That's the difference between this and the Disaster Artist, right? The Disaster Artist, you hate Tommy Wiseau. You're laughing at him, but you're really annoyed with Tommy Wiseau. Ed Wood, you like Ed Wood as a person. It's just that ultimately he's a terrible filmmaker and shouldn't be in that position. It's kind of a similar thing to Michael Scott in The Office, right? Michael Scott is a great person, a good person, but he should not be in the position that he is in. That is why I'm bringing up Michael Scott. I'm not saying that the characters are of any balance of quality.
Before Cody says something.
Yeah, I feel like this is not YLS. I don't know why.
It's not Michael Scott. I have a follow-up. I just have a question. That's all I'm saying.
All I was gonna say was I just think that you should never, under any circumstance, at any time, to anyone, do anything ever, for any reason at all, to anybody, for any reason whatsoever. No, I'm sorry.
There's a person watching who was very happy about that. I'll just say.
What were you going to say, Cody?
My thing is, he just said that that Ed Wood is like a likable, but that dude does scummy, awful things throughout the entire movie. He lies to different people. He gives Bela Lugosi's last scene or whatever is this chump together edited mess to lie to the people to make it. He steals money to get things done. He's a slime ball. He gets his movie produced by something because of he's a scumball the entire movie. So sorry.
Yep. You betcha. Okay. Joseph, your take on Ed Wood.
Yeah, I like this movie. I enjoy it. Feels a little bit long for me at times, but I think that it's a very interesting portrayal of Hollywood filmmaking from the perspective of a terrible filmmaker. I have a friend who is very fascinated with Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's a movie that he highly recommends as a movie to watch just for the experience of seeing how many decisions that Ed Wood did made it to the final cut. I love reading also about how in Plan 9 from Outer Space, one of the detective characters, the actor playing a detective character, I forget his name, but he waves his gun around and even at times nonchalantly points it at himself or other places where he shouldn't be pointing the gun at in the context of the movie. And apparently this actor said in an interview that he did that trying to get Ed Wood's attention to see if he would notice and redo the scene. And he didn't. Ed Wood didn't know that. It slipped through the editing, and you can see him pointing at different things that he shouldn't be pointing at as a character in the movie. But I like the choice of using black and white. I think that it helps stay. I don't know. I like the stylistic choice of that. Also, for people who are doing trivia on Tim Burton, this was the first movie he did not have composed by Danny Elfman. Howard Shore composed it. And I think that's a very interesting touch also. I think that, I like the score aspect of it. I think it enhances some of the thematic elements of the movie. Most of the time, I think that the score at least enhances somewhat the thematic elements of the movie for me in a Tim Burton movie.
Cool. All right. Cody, we're back up to you if you are available. Yep.
So I was mistaken. The first one was by Kirk from YLS. The second one is also by Kirk for YLS. And I'm going with a movie called Blue Collar. Blue Collar is a movie that I thought it was going to be like a Kirk movie, like, oh, it's really good, but it's like boring as shit. Like, if I love the guy, but sometimes he has some boring ass takes. But this is the direct opposite. I think
that sounds right, Cody.
What?
1978. That sounds right. Paul Schrader.
Yeah, okay. yeah, Paul Schrader's movie. I think I may get somebody wrong, but it's Harvey Keitel and Richard Pryor in the movie as the two, and there's one I can't think of the other guy. Yeah, and basically they work a blue collar job, and they go through the struggles of working a blue collar job, like thankless, just they're kind of. It's been a little bit. I think they're trying to unionize, basically get the group together to unionize against the corporations because they're taken advantage of. They're not treated properly. The more I watch, and I've said this numerous times on calls, so I think I'm comfortable with saying I think the 70s is the best decade for movies. If I had to be real honest with maybe the 2000s, 2010s, there's stuff coming out all the time. But when I look at what they're able to accomplish in the 70s, there's some grit in these movies that just don't get told anymore. And this is one that I think that no one really talked about because I never heard of it until Kirk brought it up. But you see Richard Pryor in a performance that, if you know anything about Richard Pryor, he's a very comedic guy. But this is he's doing a dramatic performance of this movie. He's super, super good. Harvey Keitel basically trying to keep him in line. There's a tragic thing that happens at the end that really wrecks hurt you in the movie. I think it's a brilliant movie. I don't want to say too much because it's a simple plot, but it has so much going on in it that I suggest anybody watch it. I think it's great. Paul's a big fan of it too. I think I recommended for Boatman too. I think it's an easy to watch movie, like subject matter, but it's a very powerful like drama, and I don't think it's too long. I think it's under 2 hours, but I may be wrong on that time. But yeah,
Boatman.
Yeah, no, this is great. Just to kind of correct Cody a little bit, so you're technically correct, but they have unionized. It's just that like the union has kind of been screwing them over a little bit, and the union's kind of been working with the
yeah. They signed up for a union, but no one's doing anything to help them on those sides.
Basically, yeah, exactly. But yeah, and then it kind of turns into like a heist movie a little bit, and it's fantastic. Richard Pryor, man, this is one of those. There are performances from certain actors that make me mad because it's like their one fantastic performance, and I get so mad because I just feel like you could have been doing this the whole time. Like I get very upset that we never get another performance from Richard Pryor of this quality. Like he's fantastic in this, and maybe. I know that like JoJo Dancer is like kind of an semi-autobiographical movie that he is in, and maybe that is like a really good performance. I have no idea about that movie, so that could be like a dog turd. But regardless, I want more performance from him. And man, Yaphet Kotto is one of those guys who we did not appreciate while we had him. That's just the simple fact of the matter. I've like been discovering Yaphet Kotto really ever since he like died, and I've just been blown away by how good he is and like everything he's in. I really like Yaphet Kotto.
Joseph,
Have not seen it, but I've heard good things about it, including right now.
Matthew, what about you?
No, I haven't seen it as well. I've been meaning to watch more Paul Schrader because I really like First Reformed, but haven't got to it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Paul Schrader's newer stuff like First Reformed, Card Counter, Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. But I haven't seen much of anything else. I know of Paul Schrader because when First Reformed came out, Tyler went, "You gonna go see First Reformed?" And I said, "I don't know. Is it a movie? Well, I'll probably go see it." He goes, "Dude, that guy wrote Taxi Driver." And I went, "What?" And then I watched it. So, yeah, I'm a fan. I'm sure I would like this. You put Harvey Keitel in something, I'm probably going to dig it. The dude's just a blessing to us all. Do you remember him in National Treasure, Cody? You remember him in National?
I do.
I'm sorry, Boatman. Do you have something you want to say with your eyes about Harvey Keitel and National?
That was a reference to another thing that I'll tell you after the call.
Sounds good.
There was someone
when he takes his glasses off.
I hope Chance Ellison
there
does.
was someone who famously didn't remember that Harvey Keitel was in National Treasure.
I just like when he takes off his glasses and looks at Benjamin Gates with like that squinted look. Like Harvey Keitel, brilliant man.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Boatman, what's your next pick?
Yeah, this is one I did watch for YLS, specifically for the top 40 animated YLS that I hosted. This is the only movie that I watched for Multiplex that when I watched it, I think this is actually the only movie that I watched specifically for Multiplex that is in my top 100. And that's Your Name. Your Name, which like 3 different people have, so I don't know exactly who to credit, but the people who are on there, it was one of them. Your Name is a fantastic movie. Like it's a sort of a kind of a body switching movie of you have 2 people who have, like a teenage boy and a teenage girl who find that like every other day they're switching bodies, and it's really fascinating. And the way a romance kind of blossoms between the 2 of them, despite the fact that they never actually meet each other, is like really fascinating, or rarely actually meet each other besides like dream interactions. And I think it's like really fascinating. The music is really good. The music's great. The movie like has just a lot of charming moments. And then like but like the last third act is so good. It's so good. And then just one of my favorite endings to a movie ever. I love the way this movie ends so much. Your Name is one of those movies that like I'm mad I put off watching it as long as I did because it's fantastic.
Joseph.
Yes, I watched this last year, not for Multiplex, but for the FPTL Watch Challenge last year. This movie's animation is amazing. I don't think it can be stressed enough about how beautiful this movie is. I think it's well, I don't know if there's much else I can say that Boatman hasn't said, but the animation alone just gets me. The animation alone impresses me a lot, and the emotional beats that ending has are very, very satisfying. Very intense the first time I see it, but the second time when I rewatched it, I was like, it's more moving when I rewatch it. It's amazing.
Matthew.
Yeah, I love this movie. I watched this back in 2018, knowing nothing about it. I didn't even know it was a body swap movie. So when you start watching it, like you kind of don't know what's going on as well. You're a little confused along with the characters, and then once you find out, it's just such a beautiful story, and the romance is beautiful, gorgeous animation. Rad Wimp's score and soundtrack is amazing. I have nothing else to say that Boatman and Joseph have already.
Yeah, I still haven't seen this one. I remember Boatman. When was that? Was that the end of 2020 or like beginning 21 that you did that top 40?
Oh, that was just last year. That was just like end of 21.
End of 21, really?
Unless time has just mushed together and it was
I remember when that was happening, and I remember you falling in love with this movie. And I could.
It was 2021 because 2020 was the comic book movie scenes.
It was maybe not end of 2021, but it was like probably like mid,
like August. I think it was around this time. Like Coco
here.
said,
I can find when I watched this on September 12th, 2021.
Okay, so yeah. But I remember you raving about it then. Like we were on call one night and you told me about it, and I remember watching the show and hearing you gush about it. I remember when this came out, but it like didn't play anywhere near me. And then I kept seeing the Blu-ray pop up at Best Buy and stuff. And I don't watch foreign films a lot. I'm sorry. I know that like it's good. And I know that if I watch it, I'll probably like it. And I know this isn't a Ghibli movie, but the Ghibli movies I have seen, I haven't really liked. So like, I don't go to anime a lot, but like, I will watch this. I will get there. Because I've heard only good things. The only people I've seen rate this lower, I don't know enough about their movie tastes to like for it to stray me away. So yeah, I will get there eventually, but probably not anytime soon. Yeah. Cody, I know you like this, right?
One, I don't remember when I loved Batman '89, but I also loved Space Jam at one point in my life. So like times change. Anyways, this movie's incredible. This movie I pushed off for a really long time. I don't like that anime style of animation. I just don't. It's not my cup of tea. But this movie works really well for me. I'm an uncultured swine, so I did watch the dubbed version of this movie. I really enjoyed it. I think it's absolutely okay. But I think this is absolutely incredible. It's one that could possibly be my top 100. I will need to watch it again, but I think it's absolutely great.
Hey, Tim, just a quick question. What those movies, the Ghibli movies that you say that you've seen, did you watch them dubbed or subtitled?
Subtitled if I watched it by myself, dubbed if I watched it with my wife. So
Okay.
The ones that I watched with her were Howl's Moving Castle and When Marnie Was There. Otherwise, I watched like Spirited Away, Pompoko, that one with the fucking the little
Secret World of
Arietti. All these fucking movies I watched for that match. One, so I'm okay.
The Lady of the Garbage.
Lady of the Garbage. What is it? Yeah. Honestly, the one that I liked the most was Only Yesterday. I thought that was really good. Because it was a drama, and I just was able to watch it.
It's a great movie.
I just think Ghibli movies stay around way too long.
Everyone is like, Howl's Moving Castle is a masterpiece, and I was bored out of my fucking skull. It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes of just a fireplace talking, and then some lady of waste.
But it's the voice of Mike Wazowski.
Yeah, it's Billy Crystal.
That's true.
No one cares.
No, I don't have a good time with those movies, but that's whatever. The one with the raccoons and their balls was a rough.
You can blame Brooklyn. I've said this before. You can blame Brooklyn because he's the reason that when Fandom announces, if they ever announce new categories, Studio Ghibli will not be one of them because of that day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But you're not in Fandom anymore, so you don't have to worry about it.
They have to watch it to write it.
Oh,
You can make other people watch it to write questions.
That is a
There's only
two-man.
two.
That is a
There's only
two-man
two.
job. It's just me and Nick, buddy. We ain't watching.
What are Nick's thoughts on it then?
I don't think he'd have a nice time.
Nick's opposite than that.
All right.
I will say though,
We're
real quickly, I will say though, I also was very underwhelmed by Howl's Moving Castle, and I love a couple of Studio Ghibli movies. That movie, Howl's Moving Castle, has a couple of tones that I don't think it meshes well, especially at the end. But so I don't blame you on that.
That's fair. All right. We're gonna move on to my next one. I'm gonna go. I talked about my trivia one. I'm gonna talk about Logged It because the one time I think I've only hosted YLS once, but the one time that I hosted it, it was a fandom topic. I had seen all of those movies. I didn't have to watch anything for it. But actually, that's not true. I watched one movie for that episode, and it was The Shaggy Dog, and that's not going to show up on this list though. So I'm going to go with the movie I watched for Logged It, which was one of the movies of the month. It was last October's pick, which was Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is my favorite of the movies that I had never seen before that we've picked for the movie of the month. So I have a few movies over this, like Soul, Kubo, and Catch Me If You Can. But as far as a first-time watch, this was my favorite. I only watched it once, but it has stuck with me all year. It's coming up on a year. And I think I'm going to make Maggie watch it this Halloween because I just think it's really spectacular. Like, I gushed about it last year, but I thought this was just incredible from beginning to end. I'm a big fan of it. The ending really, really got me in a way that not many horror films have done. Or science fiction films have done. And I talked about it then, and I don't want to spoil it, even though we did back in October. But I'm going to leave it vague now if you haven't seen it, guys. But there's like a thing with the ending that's basically like a meme at this point, but I had no idea it was from this movie and that was going to happen. And so when it happened, it really affected me. It's one of those movies where like, the whole time you're like, man, they can get out of this. Like, good will prevail. The heroes will win. And then you just slowly are starting to realize, like, oh, fuck. Like, there's no way out. Like, the whole time you just get more and more. And then the ending happens. And I just remember it ended and I, like, was speechless. Like, had nothing to say. Like, I just think the movie is really, really incredible. I gave it a 4-star at the time, but if I rewatch it this year, it could go up. I thought it was really, really incredible. And fucking Leonard Nimoy is a badass. He's great in this. I think this might be, other than him voicing that fucking robot in Dark of the Moon, This might be one of the only things I've seen him in other than Star Trek. And I really, really loved the movie from beginning to end. I think it's great. Cody, did you watch this last year for this, or have you seen it?
No, I wasn't on. I don't think that month, so I didn't get a chance to watch it. I know how much everybody loved it. I just didn't get around to watching it. I'll probably watch it this October too.
Caleb.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because I already talked about it on the show. But like, yeah, this is like, what if you did like a '70s paranoia thriller, but as a sci-fi horror movie? And I think that's brilliant. Love
it. Joseph.
I have not seen this movie, but I do really like the original version. I think that movie is very tight and very also paranoid filled. If you have a chance to watch it, it's pretty short. So it's under 80 minutes, if I recall correctly. I'd recommend checking that movie out as well.
I might have to watch both then. Matthew.
I haven't seen this or the 50s version, but they're on my watch list.
Cool. All right. Let's move over to Joseph for your second pick.
Okay, so this last, one movie that impressed me a lot when I watched it was a movie that I watched for Wild Stallions' very last match. It was for us versus Kumite, and Kumite gave us Neon Films. I had heard good things about I, Tonya. I did not expect to be floored by I, Tonya 2017. This movie...
that's your pick?
Yes, I, Tonya. This movie is about Tonya Harding, and this movie's... I like to think of it as a movie that I think it would be a good... double feature with Raging Bull, as in terms of two people who, two real life athletes who are really great at the sport that they do, but also have some severe family issues that sometimes they cause it themselves, other times they're just given a bad hand. And Margot Robbie in this movie, I think, is really, really great. And I think that for a movie that deals with such dark subject matter at times, in terms of in terms of Harding's upbringing, I feel like some of the earlier scenes in her childhood are kind of rough, but I think that the editing presented itself in a way that gave it at least some very stark energy and also very intense scenes that build up to that infamous incident that got her out of skating. That ending also is like brutal, and the movie just floored me with how the movie was, with the movie's energy, with the movie's dark subject matter, but also phenomenal acting, I think, from the cast involved. And this is going to be my second pick.
All right, Matthew, have you seen this?
I've seen this, but it's been a while, so I don't really have a lot to say about it. I just remember really great performances.
Yeah, I talk about this in the same context every single time because the three movies, every time I talk about any of these three movies, I did a triple feature. It was The Florida Project, then Call Me By Your Name, and then I, Tonya. And unfortunately, I, Tonya and The Florida Project have suffered at the hands of Call Me By Your Name ever since, because Call Me By Your Name was sandwiched in the middle, and that's my favorite movie of 2017. And so I just I always think about that one. I couldn't get focused to really, I think, appreciate I, Tonya. I liked it. And I actually own the Blu-ray, but I've never watched the Blu-ray. So I will watch it again one day, because I do like Margot Robbie in the movie, and I like
Allison Janney, Sebastian Stan.
Allison Janney, thank you. I thought she was great, obviously deserving of winning her Oscar. But yeah, I would like to watch it again. Who directed this?
Craig Gillespie.
Oh,
the guy who did Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah. Well, didn't he just do fucking
Cruella?
Yeah. But yeah, so I'll get to it eventually, but it had the unfortunate circumstance of just being followed by a movie I really love. So
And another thing, one other aspect that I really love about this movie is Paul Walter Hauser's character. Great. I love how the movie presents himself as like this really in over his head type of guy. And then you see the real life footage of him, and it's crazy, and it makes this performance all the better for me in hindsight.
Cody,
this is the weird thing about me and Tim. Like we agree on so much, but then Call Me by Your Name, and he mentioned two movies that I would rank higher than Call Me by Your Name by like a large margin. It's a Terrence Malick and you. Anyways, I think this movie has a lot of great performances. I don't love the overall movie itself, because like I've been like immersed in sports my entire life. I know about Tanya Harding. I know about the entire story behind it. I know that stuff. So going into it, it was nothing new. It's kind of just whininess, really. I know she deals with a lot with her mom, but like I still think it's like one of the worst suspensions in sports history. Like you're never allowed to skate ever again. Like that's a rough punishment. When you're a professional athlete, but like you're never allowed to do this. It's crazy. Am I breaking up? I feel like I'm breaking up. But a lot of great performances and overall, it just never climbs over that inch mark to like love the movie. So,
Boatman.
Yeah, I think that this is fantastic. I feel like I'm one of the people who like loves this movie more than most people. I love this film. I love Robbie's performance. She's my winner this year for actress. I think she's that good.
Who won?
What?
Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, Frances. Margot Robbie, I think is like just that good. Allison Janney is one of those people who I just love in everything. I find that like one of my favorite niches is what I call stylized biopics. Biopics that are like true story biopic-y movies, but they just have a little bit more flavor to them and just do some kind of unique things, like the fourth wall breaking in this movie, or like what The Big Short does, things like that. I like stylized biopics. So that's I think one of the reasons why this movie really hits for me more than other people. I also love Sebastian Stan in the role of evil Ned Flanders. Like that's what he's doing in this movie. He's like very like dorky and awkward, but then like vindictive and mean. And it's like really fascinating to see that type of character. I like this movie a lot.
Joseph Cody was talking about the fact that I love Terrence Malick, and it goes against like everything that I stand for as a film fan, but yet for some reason I love Terrence Malick and all of his. Actually, there's only one Terrence Malick movie I don't like, so which is To the Wonder, I think is pretty fucking bad.
Oh, the Ben Affleck and Javier Bardem one.
Yeah, it's not good. But I fucking love Knight of Cups, so everyone can get out of here. Anyway, we're gonna go to Matthew for his pick to close out the list.
So I watched a few movies for YOS Top 40, and so I don't want to talk about them because one made it on my list, and I'm going to be talking about it in a few weeks. So instead, I'm going to talk about Christine, which I watched when I was studying 80s horror with Melissa. Melissa chose it. And yeah, this was before I had seen any completed John Carpenter's filmography. So this was one of the earliest ones I had seen, and I just really enjoyed it. I think a story about a car that goes on a rampage and kills people can sound really goofy, and especially when it's in the 80s, but there's something about John Carpenter's direction that I just really enjoy. He manages to make it feel very intimidating. There's some really gorgeous effects. There's a scene where Christine has to rebuild herself. And it just looks stunning with how the effects are made. And I think the lead character, Arnie, is not a very good character, but I think it's really interesting to watch him and see his relationships with all the other characters there. And then when he starts to be obsessive about Christine, there's something really interesting about that. I think the soundtrack is excellent. There's some really great 80s songs that work really great. So yeah, this is great.
I have not seen this, but I've watched more John Carpenter in the last few months than I have ever. So it's on my to-do list to get through the rest of his movies. So I'll get there eventually. Cody, you love movies famously where cars are a big part of the plot and, maybe even main characters.
Yeah, I have 3 questions and they should be answered really quickly. 1, does anybody have make love into this car? Is this a prequel to Rubber? And can't a car compactor just finish this movie in like 10 minutes? Okay, that's all I need to know.
You can catch up to it.
Boatman.
Yeah, no, I'm not big on Christine personally. I think this one's like mid-tier Carpenter, to be honest. There's some... I like the supporting cast, like Robert Prosky and Harry Dean Stanton, but overall,
Joseph?
I am in the same boat as you that I have seen more Carpenter movies in the past year than ever. I've enjoyed some of them. I've appreciated some more than others. Some others I don't like, but I've never seen this one.
All right. So that's the list. Thought Joseph was going to talk longer. That's why I took a bite of candy. Anyway, that's the list.
I can talk a little bit longer if you'd like about different things.
Head over to the letterbox. The link right there. Take a look and click like on that list that we just made. All the movies we talk about tonight are going to be on that letterboxed in our films. So you can check those all out there. Okay. So we're going to talk about the movie of the month, which is Assault on Precinct 13.
Speaking of Carpenter.
Yes, right. Boatman and Joseph talked about this last week. I was not here, so I will talk about it now, as well as Matthew. Matthew, why don't you start? Because I know you said you watched it a while ago, but what do you remember about the movie? Did you like the movie? Let's hear it.
I really liked Assault on Precinct 13. I went through all of Carpenter's movies last year, and so this is one that I just found was really thrilling. I love this single location. I think just with Carpenter's direction, I think he really adds a lot of atmosphere to this very simple story. But I think there's a lot of scenes that stand out, like the ice cream scene, or just when we're at the police station. I just think the characters are all really interesting. I think the score is really good, and it's just really short. Like the 91 minutes just goes by and it's really tight.
Yeah, I really liked the movie. I was kind of in the middle for most of it until like the last 20 minutes. I bumped it up to the 4 stars. I thought that it was really, really excellent. The score, I agree, is amazing, and so I don't know why I was surprised that it was John Carpenter. I don't remember if I said at the beginning of the show or if it was when we were off air still, but I didn't know this was a John Carpenter movie when I watched it. Yeah, I thought it was great. I think there was a little to be desired as far as character development goes and stuff like that, but for how short it was, what he was able to accomplish, I thought it was really, really great. And like I said, I think the score is probably my favorite part. The fact that we kind of the fact that ice cream scene is in here at all is kind of shocking and crazy. It's nuts. That was the only time that the movie really gave me an emotional reaction, but I think the rest of the movie does its job really well. It's not my favorite movie we've watched for this show, but it was good, and I enjoyed it. I'm interested to see the remake now, just because with updated cast and visuals and stuff, what they would do to update this, because I also noticed that it was almost 30 minutes longer than this one, so it's what else are you gonna do? But the cast is interesting, so I might check that out and see. But yeah, I really like this, so yeah. I gave it 4 stars. So Matthew, what would you give it?
I give it 4.5.
Okay, perfect. All right, and Cody, you said you're going to talk about it next week, correct? All right, great. Well, that's the show, guys. Next week, we're talking about fictional movie bands / artists. I have no idea what I'm going to bring up for that. I might let Boatman take both my picks. So, and then we're going to do guilty pleasures after that. God help my soul. That's going to be me, Boatman, Nazario, Mike, and Bill. That is going to be the show from hell. And we are going to do guilty pleasures again in September because we had so many people sign up for it. So there will be another chance to be on Guilty Pleasures in September. And then to close out the month, we're doing Best Actors and Actresses Working Today. So that'll be another fun one as well. So we got some fun stuff coming up the next few weeks. Thank you guys for watching. As always, that was Cody, Joseph, Matthew, and Boatman. I've been Tim. We'll see you guys next week. Be sure to tune into YLS tomorrow for the beginning of Top 40 Musicals. We'll see you next week. Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, good evening.